Good morning and welcome to Take Your Life Back Today's show. Today's topic is what is an intervention and what is an interventionist. Folks, this segment is really dedicated to a good friend of mine that has issues within her own family, particularly one family member that probably wants help but just isn't strong enough maybe to get that help. Maybe this particular person deep down inside is crying for help, but no matter what, the addiction is just overtaking. So every time this person turns around, this person wants to utilize whatever drug of choice, whether it be alcohol and drugs. So this segment is dedicated to helping my friend and her family identify what an intervention is and what an interventionist does. First and foremost, a shout out to Dr. Luis Gonzalez from StartingPointMN.com. You can reach him at 844-414-8444. He will take you from your addiction to your recovery hand by hand, 24 hours at a time, never ever worrying about yesterday, only dealing with today and promises for tomorrow. Also, if you want to become an addiction recovery coach, you can call 844-414-8444, Dr. Luis Gonzalez. Ask, do you have professionalism? Do you have passion? Do you have a personality? And do you have an addiction background? Or maybe helping someone with an addiction background or an addiction itself, like my friend who's battling to try to save her family, it could be a sibling, a loved one. She would make a candidate for an addiction recovery coach eventually because she is getting the experience that no one else could possibly get, and that is dealing daily with someone within her own family that has an addiction. And I urge her or anyone else that's interested in becoming an addiction recovery coach to call 844-414-8444. That's StartingPointMN.com with Dr. Luis Gonzalez. And when you speak to him, tell him that Ralf Friedrichs sent you. GlobalEyeglasses.com. They are focused on saving you money. I want to thank each and every one that has called me personally so far and has purchased glasses from me directly through Global Eyeglasses, because I have been in the optometry field for over 30 years. I know the ins and outs of frame sizing, the ins and outs of styles, the ins and outs of optics 101. And people like yourselves have contacted me after going on to www.globaleyeglasses.com and seeing the many styles and seeing the many different types of lenses, but having so many questions about what to order. They reached out to me at 631-599-0218, and please continue to do so. You'll see about 1,200 frame styles on that website. You'll see transitions, photochromatics, progressive lens, which is a no-line bifocal, a line bifocal, polarized lenses, thinner lenses, anti-reflecting coating for night driving and computers, UV coating. It's all available on www.globaleyeglasses.com, where they are focused on saving you money. Also, go to my website, www.takeyourlifebacktoday show, which is this show. It'll give the information on my daily episodes, also give you information about me, myself, my biography. You can also get information on addiction and recovery by going to www.clearviews.info.com. Also, if you want me to become your addiction recovery coach, you can go to www.clearreform.com, where I can help take you or your loved one's life back. Today we are going to talk about what is an interventionist. I'm going to also, which I usually don't do, I usually read it off a cue card, but I have a piece of paper because there was so much to write on that cue card that I really couldn't get all of it on there. But let me read the following. The interventionist is an addiction professional who assists families and others in their support network in confronting the addict in a non-threatening manner. So for my friend and her family, when you approach your loved one who's an addict, you or the interventionist needs to approach in a cautionary manner, needs to approach in a non-threatening manner. The goal of the professional, which is the interventionist, is to help the addict to see how their behavior is self-destructive and how it affects themselves, their families, their friends. They will help with the following items that I'm going to list below. In order to achieve this goal, the interventionist puts together several family members, that would be my friend and her family, to form what is called an intervention team. So it's almost like a meeting with the interventionist before the addict comes into the room. The interventionist helps the family with the following. So picture yourself, my friend out there in your family. You would actually find an interventionist, and you would be part of recovering your addicted loved one's life back, taking their life back. The following are as follows. What the interventionist wants to accomplish is finding out the extent of the loved one's addictions and doing researching, researching their condition and different treatment options. So this is more like an analyzation stage where we're going to find out what is going on with this addicted loved one of yours. What condition is it a drug condition? Is it an alcohol? Is it both condition? And what are the options for treatment? The interventionist helps oversee the choosing of the individual who will be personally participate in the intervention. So for my friend, that might be you. You and the interventionist would accomplish or tackle and accomplish taking your addicted loved one's life back. The interventionist helps the family stay firm with their overall message, options, and consequences if the addict declines treatment. An addict will put any roadblock up to avoid getting help. You and the interventionist need to set boundaries. You need to show the options, and you need to show what consequences are going to happen if your loved one declines treatment. The interventionist helps family focus on the facts of their loved one's addiction and not in a strong emotional response of the loved one and their addiction. Basically what that means is they help the family stay overall firm of the message, options, and consequences was the first one. And then the next one is helps family members and friends focus on the facts of the loved one's addiction and not on strong emotional responses of the loved one's addiction. Another one, the intervention that helps follows up with the family after the intervention and offers assistance and participate in family counseling and provides information to family and friends on what to do in case of relapse, among other services. So the interventionist's job is to find out the extent of the situation at hand, find out the exact condition and what treatment options are available. The interventionist helps oversee the choosing of an individual who will participate in the intervention, possibly like my friend out there. The interventionist helps the family stay firm with their overall message, options, and consequences if the addict declines treatment. The interventionist also helps family focus on the facts of their loved one's addiction and not on the strong emotional responses of the loved one's addiction, and also helps follow up with the family after the intervention, like counseling, possibly if there's a relapse. When is intervention necessary? This is directly from my friend. Please pay attention to anyone out there that might have a situation, whether it being at home or maybe you know of a loved one that's having addictive behavior, such as doing drugs and alcohol. While there are many instances where an addict will recognize the problem their addiction has caused and will seek drug treatment on their own, this will not be the case for everyone who are addicted to drugs and alcohol. There are many addicts who are unable to recognize the devastating impacts of their addiction. The following warning signs may indicate the need of an interventionist help. These are the warning signs. Weight loss, personal appearance change. Your loved one suddenly is losing a lot of weight and not taking care of themselves. They're droopy eyes, they're tired. Those are signs that you might need an interventionist. Decline in the addicted's hygiene. They're not brushing their teeth, they're not brushing their hair, their nails are getting long and dirty. That's a sign. Another one is physical and verbal altercations with family and friends. That is called denial. The addicted is denying the fact that they have a problem. They will do whatever. They'll kick and scream to avoid taking care of themselves. Next one would be, let's see, broken promises about getting help. They will make any promise for you just to pretty much to stop bothering them about it. They will do whatever it takes. It is up to you to keep pushing forward. Social withdrawals, no matter how many times you want to ask, or you do ask your addicted loved one to go out, to get involved, go to church, go to the malls, they withdraw from the situation. Substantial denial of drug and alcohol abuse, no matter how many times you bring it up to them, they deny, and deny. This is a sure sign that you might need to have an intervention before it's too late. Stealing money or personal possessions in order to obtain drugs and alcohol. They will do whatever it takes to get their fix. If this is the case and it's uncontrollable and you have no control of it whatsoever, you might need to consider an intervention. You might need to consider hiring interventionists. Last but not least, lying to family and friends regarding their whereabouts. They will say, I'm going for a walk to visit a friend. I'm going for a walk to, or I'm getting in the car to go to the post office. Meanwhile, they're going to the bar. They're meeting their drug friends to buy their fix. This is a sure sign that an intervention is necessary and you need an interventionist. Here's a paragraph. How do I support my addicted loved one? While obtaining the help of an experienced interventionist can be extremely beneficial in providing the motivation for your loved one to get help they need, it is important that you know how to support the addict in a manner that will help them become more receptive into receiving help. Oftentimes people will listen to professionals rather than have conversations with friends and family members. Professionals such as doctors, counselors, and addiction specialists can explain the dangers of their addiction in a manner that is non-threatening and factual and not driven by fear, accusations, and emotions. Basically what this says is, if you're a family member, my friend, and your family, don't jump on your addicted loved one with accusations, emotions, or put fear in their mind. That is why an interventionist is so important, because they will be non-threatening and state facts. Facts are important. Be casual as best as possible, but if you source these signs, an intervention is necessary and you might need interventionists. Let's go over this one more time, because I have a habit of kind of rifling through things, so I want to explain one more time. The interventionist is an addiction professional who assists families and others in their support network in confronting the addict in a non-threatening manner. The ultimate goal of the interventionist is to help the addict to see how their behavior is self-destructive and how it affects themselves, their family, and their loved ones. In order to achieve this goal, the interventionist puts together several family members to form what is called an intervention team. Like you, my friend, I know you're watching me, and your family. You would be considered the intervention team. The interventionist helps the family with the following: finding out the extreme or the extent of the loved one's addictions and doing research in their condition and the treatment options for their condition. Helps oversee the choosing of the individual who will personally participate in the intervention, like you. Helps the family stay firm with their overall message, options, and consequences if the addict declines treatment. Helps family focus on the facts of their loved one's addiction and not the strong emotional responses of the loved one's addiction. So pretty much what that means is that it's not how they speak when they're drunk or how they react when they're high. It is to stay strong and focus on the facts of their addiction. Last but not least, follows up with their family after the intervention in case counseling is needed, in case a relapse should occur. When is an intervention needed? An intervention needed would be under this category. While there may be instances where an addict will recognize their problem or their addiction problem, it has cause, and let me repeat that again. While there may be instances where the addict will recognize the problem their addiction has caused and will seek drug treatment on their own, this will not be the case for everyone who is addicted to drugs and alcohol. There are many addicts who are unable to recognize the devastating impacts of their addiction on themselves and their family, or are reluctant to recognize the impacts of their addiction. The following warning signs may indicate the need for an interventionist help. Warning signs that include weight loss, that include personal appearance, sudden changes. You might need an interventionist if you start seeing that. Signs like decline of hygiene with the addicted. They're not combing their hair, they're not brushing their teeth, they're not cutting their nails. Signs like physical and verbal altercations with family and friends. They're very argumentative. That is a sure sign you might need an interventionist. Signs like broken promises regarding getting help. They will tell you they'll get help to shut you up. They won't follow through. That is a sign you might need an intervention and an interventionist. Social withdrawal. They don't want to be involved in any activities, whether friends or family. Substantial denial of drug addict abuse. No matter what you tell them, that they're drinking too much, they're doing drugs, they will deny, and deny. They won't accept until they accept, really. I call it rock bottom. But an intervention might be necessary because sometimes people just never get to that point of accepting because they have overdosed or gotten themselves in an accident. Stealing money from themselves, from you, or personal possessions from you or yourself or themselves, to pawn them, to make money, to buy their fix. Lying to family and friends regarding their whereabouts. They won't. They'll sneak around. They'll be sneaky about going to the bars and going to friends' house that might be doing drugs because they know you don't want to hear it, so they'll lie about it. How do you support an addicted loved one? While obtaining the help of an experienced interventionist can be extremely beneficial in providing the motivation for your loved one to get the help that they need, it is important that you know how to support the addict in a manner that will help them become more receptive into receiving help. Oftentimes people will listen to professionals rather than conversations with friends and families. Professionals such as doctors, counselors, and addiction specialists can explain the dangers of their addiction in a manner that is non-threatening and factual and not driven by fear, accusations, and emotions that we as loved ones not purposely seem to put on our addicted loved one. In other words, we bring up the fact that they shouldn't be doing this, this is what's going to happen. We get them all worried and we draw them away from us. What a doctor does, a counselor, an interventionist does, is point out the facts, point out statistics that will make the addicted realize that they are on a road of destruction. There is no turning back until you finally stop saying, I don't have an addiction problem, and you start saying, I do have a problem. For my friend and her family out there, it is now time, after maybe your loved one comes and visits you the next time, and you don't see any changes. Your loved one comes and visits you, and they still come back after taking a walk in the neighborhood drunk or on drugs. It is then the time for you and your family to consider an intervention and look into an interventionist. Have this person, the interventionist, be part of saving your loved one's life. Yes, it might not be the best thing for your loved one's interest to have an interventionist because they don't want a person that's going to call them out on what their situation is. But if you truly loved your loved one and you truly want to save their life, and you want them to take their life back, you will need to hire an interventionist to perform an intervention, and you, my friend, need to be part of that intervention team. It is to show that you love your loved one with the addiction. It is to show that you want to save their life. It is not to be mean or to control. It is the mere fact that if you don't interfere, intervention has to happen, or possibly death will happen, whether it's overdose or accident, or destroying the internal parts of their body. Your loved one will one day thank you if you have the interventionist, you have an interventionist, and you are part of the intervention team. Your loved one will love you one day. Yes, it will be hard during the time, but you have to make it very clear. I'm directing this to my friend. Make it very clear. There are consequences. There are huge consequences that if your loved one decides not to accept the help, there is no turning back. We need to save each and every person that is out there with our love, with people like the interventionist, to perform an interventionist. You know, as I was looking into this article, I started thinking it's almost like a what do they call that when a person's possessed with the devil? I think you know what I think the movie was called The Exorcist, and the pastor, the priest, put holy water on the possessed. This is what this reminds me of. This is what an interventionist reminds me of. This interventionist will feed your loved one's addiction or addicted loved one with facts and concern and alternatives to their addiction. The interventionist and the intervention team, like you, will come together and help your loved one, will force your loved one pretty much to seek help. It is never too late until it's too late. If your loved one still exists, if your loved one is still breathing and blinking, it's not too late to help. Let today be the day that you look into an intervention if it has come to that point. I am talking to you, my friend. I think if your addicted loved one ever comes to visit you, and you find that your loved one comes back to your house after walking or anything, still in a mode of drunkenness or high, it is then the time to look into an intervention. While that loved one is visiting you, and maybe all your family's right there, it is then time that you get together as a family unit, including the addicted loved one, and have a meeting about saying, listen, we need to do this to save your life, to take your life back. Your loved one will thank you one day, that I promise you. Look into what an intervention is. Look into what an interventionist does. Look for the signs that an intervention is needed. Signs as physical and verbal altercations with family members, broken promises regarding getting help, substantial denial of drug and addiction abuse or drug and alcohol abuse, stealing money or possessions, lying to family and friends regarding whereabouts, sudden weight loss, hygiene issues, and personal appearance. Those are signs that an intervention is necessary. And the interventionist will find out the extent of your loved one's addiction and doing researching of their condition and possibly what treatment options are available. The interventionist will help oversee who is going to be part of the intervention team, maybe yourself. The interventionist will help families stay firm with their overall message, options, and consequences if the addict declines treatment. The interventionist will also help family focus on the facts of their loved one's addiction and not of the addiction's responses. And the interventionist will also follow up with the family after intervention in case counseling is needed, also in case of relapse. Folks, this was a great segment on what is an interventionist, when is intervention needed, and how do you support an addicted loved one. I hope to God that everybody realizes that if you have a sober today, it will definitely give you a better tomorrow. And you have to remember that all big changes happen with very small steps. And if you start thinking positive, positive things will happen. That I promise you. Please educate yourselves and your children and your grandchildren to please say no to drugs and alcohol. I hope to God each and every one of you folks in my audience has a great day, but more importantly, I hope to God you have a sober day. And please contact me at 844-405-HELP and let me help take your life back. May God bless you.